everybody, Bonnie here. I hope you guys are doing well today. I just want to show you real quick how I do these little faces. Some faces will have the little cheeks, some of them do not. I found the trickiest thing about a face is the mouth, is trying to get that mouth to be smiley but not to be like evil smiley. You know what I mean? How it gets to be just a little bit too sharp. So I will show you guys how I do the smiley face today, and I have a little trick whenever I put in safety eyes just to make sure that you can't feel the pokey end of them through no matter how thin your amigurumi is. Like, let's get started. When doing amigurumi, usually you start in the round, and when I am just about 3 or 4 rows in, I always stop and I take care of this hole right in the middle. Because sometimes when you start with a magic circle or a magic ring, no matter how tight you pull that at first, it still gets loose. And I don't want to give my amigurumi an extra nostril. So I flip it over, I get my tapestry needle, and then I just go anywhere the needle will go. I just go in a couple, and I pull this tight, 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 and then I tighten it like that. I usually do maybe 3 or 4, just to go under there, just like that, and that gets rid of that hole in the middle, so I can't put my needle through that. That's what I do first. And I always leave this long end just as a little extra stuffing in there. But today I am going to cut that off just to show you the eyes. It's a little bit difficult when there's a string hanging there. So we've got this. First thing I do is I make sure that center is really cinched in. Then we add the eyes. Well, this guy, I put the eyes in already. He's got just the run-of-the-mill safety eyes right over here, you know, all different sizes. But they are pointy, and sometimes that plastic doesn't get filed down very good, and it can be sharp. So if I were to stuff this, and you know, like say I was making a sun, I put this on the back, stuff it just a little bit, you can still feel those pokes. You can actually see the poke coming through. Like when I made the flowers, and I will link this pattern down below, I made sure to do this technique so I cannot, even if I push really super hard, I can't feel the poke because we melt it. Now when you're melting something with acrylic yarn nearby, you need to be careful. Like, I am not going to put this glue on the yarn. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in this little empty space right around the black center. Then I'm going to take my glue gun. I'm not going to squeeze the trigger, but I'm going to push down, and you can feel the black melting. You can kind of see that. This is an old glue gun, and it works really well because it's not a safety one. That metal, that silver, is hot, so make sure you use caution. Sometimes I'll put a little bit more hot glue, and I will just push that down. I do have my finger behind on this eye, and I'm just having fun. I'm just pushing this down, just like that. Just pushing it down. Okay? I do have a newer glue gun which has that safety on there. See, this one is dangerous. This one does not have any plastic around the nozzle. This one does. So it's a little bit more difficult to melt that piece of plastic, but you can still do that. So the first thing I do is I pull the trigger of the glue gun, and I make sure I fill in the center of that safety eye. And then with the tip, because that tip is still the metal, I push that point right down. And then it's flat. I push that point right down, and the plastic just melts. Then I just set this aside and I let that dry. Don't forget to unplug those glue guns when you are finished using those. All right, our little guy is dry, nice and smooth. It doesn't hurt my fingers when I push on that. You can see it's flat. And if you wanted to, you can even melt that down more. I did pull off the little cobwebby extra pieces of hot glue, and we are ready for a smile. Sometimes I use a tapestry needle, sometimes I use a regular needle. It's always easier it's easier to thread that tapestry needle. Regular old embroidery floss. I do tie an ugly old knot at the end, just so it won't go through that yarn. Just any kind of ugly knot. And I kind of try to leave an end. Sometimes I leave a little bit longer end, but that'll work. So what I do is, like in the case of the bee, I just make sure I'm paying attention to where I want my mouth to be. Like on the flowers, I kind of did it with the eyes. This one's a little wonky. This little flower might be a little bit better. Yeah, I just came right down there with the embroidery floss for the eyes. So I'm just kind of guesstimating. I'm gonna stick it through right about here. I don't stick it through, you can see, you know, these holes. I don't put my needle through that because it'll just end up pulling straight through. I always try to get into the middle of the stitch if I can. So pull this through. There we go on the back. Then I go right over here. About here is where we want it. Again, I go kind of in the middle of the stitch. I don't want to go into one of those holes. Okay. And I'm right through my little tail there. Let's fix that. Okay. And this is where the magic happens. If I wanted a straight across serious looking smile, I could do that. Knot these two together and we'd be done. But I want to do that kind of, I want to do that little V smile there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this up. Okay. So pull it through about like that. Then you're going to come a row underneath. This would be the same row. I'm going to come underneath. Again, kind of in the middle where I want it to be. Trying not to get into one of those humongous holes. Then make sure that your embroidery floss or yarn, whatever you're using for the smile, is towards you and it is not on the other side of the needle. Make sure it's on the same side as you. I'm going to pull that through. And then when it's almost taut, this isn't quite tight down there, you're going to bring it down and it's got a little smile. Now to secure that, I'm going to go right next to it. I'm not going to go right in the same one because it'll just come out. I'm going to pull that down and I'm going to go just to the side of it. And if this one goes through one of those big holes, it doesn't really matter because it's the back. And pull it down and we have a little smile. Then what I do is, usually I don't have that caught in there. That's fun. Then I just knot these. This is usually a string here. Let me just, there we go. That won't matter. Cut that. Okay, there's our knotted end. You can even leave this longer if you want to. But what I do is I just knot my strings, my floss or yarn together. Just give it a couple of knots. And then we have our smile. I do tend to also leave the strings a little bit longer because this is going to be the inside. You're not going to see it. There is our little smile. Now if you wanted to add eyelashes or eyebrows, it's real simple. Again, give this a knot. Let's do, eyelashes are a little bit trickier because you have to get them even. So I'm going to do an eyelash. I'm going to start right here. Pull this through. Oops, I pulled it all the way through. Not cool. So since that happened, I'm just going to secure the yarn or the embroidery floss really quick. Like that. Okay, can't see it. Then I'm going to come right here. I'm going to make a V. And then, so I'm on the back now. Now I'm going to try to come up right here and then go right in that same hole. Pull through. There we have little eyelashes. Now to do that on the other side, I'm just using the same old floss. I'm gonna do the same trick. Come up there. We'll do it right about here. It's really tricky to get those even. And the glue sometimes will spill in the back. There we go. Yeah, that one's totally up and down. Not cool. What I love about crochet and crafting is that you can just fix your mistakes. So we'll just take that out and we will thread the skin. Sometimes faces are just a lot of trial and error. I need to angle that one more. Okay, and then I'm coming from behind and I'm going right here. And I'm going to try to get in that same spot right there. Not too bad. Now if you wanted to do an eyebrow, all you would have to do, wherever you wanted your eyebrow, just, you know, go through. Eyebrows are really so easy. Don't want it really thick. So where is my other piece? There it is. Could do a little eyebrow. I think the eyebrows look better when there aren't any eyelashes. But anyway, you get the idea. I'm going to take out my little eyebrow because I don't want this one to have eyebrows. When you're finished, just knot the yarn. I might even just knot it to this piece right here. If I still had my long tail, that, you know, when you make your, I mean, you have this tail and you pull this, after I would weave this in, I would leave this really long tail and then I can tie my embroidery floss or my face yarn right to that. The little cheeks on this were super simple. I just took some pink. Use what you have. Take, you know, whatever you've got. You can do little red cheeks or you can do no cheeks. Cut that off. I'm going to use the tapestry needle because it is easier to thread. There we go. And you can even double this yarn, or not yarn. You can even double this if you're not using yarn so that it's a little bit thicker. So just making that even, make a nice ugly, some kind of knot there at the end of it so it won't go through. Let's get your knot in there. You can put the cheeks wherever you want. They could be on the sides, they could be right under the eyes. Doing them under the eyes is really simple because then you can just totally measure and see exactly where you want them. I'm gonna try something. I'm going to put them to the side of the mouth. I wonder how that will look. I don't know. It might look kind of funny. But it's so easy. You just go in like that. And then I come through the same stitch one more time. And I do this with the embroidery floss doubled like that. And then you just come on over here to wherever you want it to go. And you do the same thing. There's one. And I don't pull this tight. If you pull this really tight, looks like she's making a fish face. So make sure this is a little bit looser than your eyelashes or an eyebrow, just so the cheeks kind of puff out. And then I come right around in the same exact spot. If you want them poofier, you can go 2 or 3 times. This is tight because I had pulled it. Just stick my needle in there. Loosen that up. That looks pretty cute, I think. Come back here. And then I'm just going to cut that off. And this is what I like to do, is I like to knot the embroidery floss or the yarn that I use for faces and secure that really good so they won't, like the face won't fall out if it's a toy, you know, and gets played with. It's less likely for the mouth to come undone. So I give that some really good tugs. That's what I ideally would do with all of this black embroidery floss also. Give it some good knots. And then I would just tuck all these pieces in. I just use it as extra stuffing. And I don't know what this is going to be. I'm going to put this together, stuff it, and there we go. That's a simple way to do an amigurumi face. Thanks for watching. We'll be seeing you soon. Bye.